G'day, legends, and welcome to the Pot Noodle by Celtic Down Under. I'm your host, Jared, and joining me tonight is Shane and a special guest, Tom Celtic. Johnny boy up in Brisbane. How you doing?
I'm doing good, Jared. I'm doing good. For those that don't know, I'm doing the old Movember. So it's it's definitely taking a bit to get used to, but
he's got the old flavour saver going on, Johnny. There you go.
I think this is like
the cleanest moustache joke I can make on the pod in the first 5 minutes, so we don't get demonetized. There you go.
Only month of the year it's socially acceptable to have a big and dirty caterpillar on your lip. So yeah, I'm going for it.
Unless you live in the country in Australia, then it's
Unless I've got a rat tail or a mullet, then
ratty, a mullet, and a stash works. The rest of the time, no, don't do it.
No, don't do it. Yeah,
good fun. It's good that you're both on this week, boys. We've got a bit of catching up to do on the pod. So we skipped the Thursday show last week, so because people were off, I was crook. So we'll get straight into it. We won't really touch on Andrew Galea's comment straight away. G'day, set up.
Jesus, Andrew, you've got to give us a warning if I'm taking a drink if you're going to post something like that. Come on, fella.
We've got a public holiday tomorrow here in Melbourne. Shane's beer will be everywhere all over the screen if he uses like that. Brilliant. Yeah, so we won't really dig back into the old oh God, listen, you're confident, Johnny.
Keep them coming. Live and breathe them.
Chuck him in there. We're going to have a Johnny mustache slander contest later on, I reckon. So I'm going to keep them all for round 2. But yeah, it's good to be back on the pod. We'll get stuck in. So main for you talking points, it's been pretty quiet, all things considered, hasn't it, boys?
Dead quiet.
Nothing happening. Nothing at all.
Not much going on. So we'll dig into Celtic 3, Ross County 0. And we got a comment here from Sean in the chat as well. How'd you get Ron Jeremy on the pod? Nice one, Sean.
Okay, all right, fair enough.
He's copping it. There's another one there as well, John Holmes. It's all happening.
Yeah.
Oh, brilliant. Yeah, so we'll try and keep on track. We're losing it over Johnny's moustache here. It's unbelievable. It's just the stuff. If we had a Patreon, this is the sort of thing you'd see behind the scenes. So it's on air tonight. Where's Liam when you need him?
That's a good reference considering the Ron Jeremy gag too, behind the scenes, Patreon, paywall.
John, the OF, I don't want to say the proper term on it. Yeah, so
get me money.
Oh, Johnny. Lost the plot. We're off to a brilliant start. Happy days. So, yeah, Celtic 3, Ross County 0. Had an interesting lineup there, so we'll go through that. We had 6 changes from the game against St Mirren. So we had Joe Hart in goals, Taylor, Scales, Carter Vickers back in, Ralston was in for Johnson, Turnbull, McGregor, Bernardo. So you had who dropped out from there? O'Reilly, he got a rest. Kyogo was on the bench. Yang started. Matus was there. So Palmer was off along with Kyogo. So there was those 4 main guys there. So my notes for the game, I had looking at the starting lineup. Yeah, the 6 changes was Kyogo, Johnson, O'Reilly, and Palmer all getting rested, and some of them not even playing. Was that more with that Atletico Madrid in mind, or do you think it was, just to rotate the squad, Shane? What do you think?
Oh, I think it was a bit of both. I think definitely he wanted to keep a few players like O'Reilly fresh for that trip midweek, so that didn't surprise me so much. But it was also the need to actually get a few players in, particularly squad rotation, who haven't played for a little while, or at least started for a little while, like Yang, for example. So it's quite funny because you go back to last week and you asked me whether he got it right or wrong by having an unchanged 11, and I said he got it wrong. And I saw this lineup on the weekend, and I was like, I had a go at him for not making any changes. I saw this lineup and said, oh, no, that's too many changes. Like, he just can't win from me at the moment. But no, I think getting back to your question, yeah, I think it was a bit of both. Definitely probably with one eye on midweek, but very keen to see how a few players fronted up for their first start in a while.
That's what we were talking about last Monday. Like we were saying that it's we need him to start rotating some guys, especially with so many games, like pretty much 2 games a week from now till Christmas. So it was good to see guys like O came on against St Mirren and got the winner, and then he's came on, got the full 90 minutes into his legs, which is good for his development and his match fitness. And then seeing a guy like Yang coming in there and not doing himself any any favors in terms of the Ross County fans hated him. But we'll discuss that a bit later on the pod. But yeah, he got out there and did his job well. When Palmer come on, he was just like absolutely tearing them up. So it's good to see guys just rotating and getting fresh bodies in there and showing that if, as we were saying, next man up or the production line, and it was good to see that. Thing that I liked seeing as well was Awada got game time, Home got game time. So there was a bunch of things like that as well throughout the match that we can discuss. But Johnny, what was your thoughts for the squad overall?
Well, I mean, look, overall, I think it was, like Shane was saying, it was just very different to what we would expect as like our full strength starting 11 sort of thing. But when you sort of digest it and you sort of come to terms with that's what's going to be, you have to acknowledge that there is a big difference between what we think is our strongest 11 and then the next guys coming in. There's a big, I feel like there's a bit of a step down. More so than it has been under Ange and stuff. So the only way to get those boys up to speed is to give them game time. So after I saw the lineup, I was like, look, fair enough. It's Ross County. This is probably a game that they could be. There's a little bit less pressure. It gives everybody else a bit of a rest. So I think everyone else that came on and sort of was rotated in has strengths, and we just need to be able to give them game time and give them legs to actually be able to do that. So like Yang and O, for example, you can see that there's good players there. They just like need the time. Bernardo's another one. They just need more time. So look, I think gut reaction, this is not the strongest. Why are we doing this? And then actually you go, yeah, fair enough. Like we actually do have a big squad, right? So we need to get more players in.
Makes sense as well, because when you look at it, we're talking about like the rotation and you're getting these guys in. Yeah, Bernardo got a good run in the game there as well. Calmac got a bit of an early, I think he came off early, didn't he? If my memory's right, I can't remember.
He definitely came off, but I think it was later in the piece.
I think it was, yeah.
Yeah.
But he didn't play the full 90, which was strange. But yeah, as you're saying, Ross County up there, we should be able to get the job done. That's the sort of game where we were saying last week and on previous pods that we need an Alistair Johnson type on the left from Europe. But in the league, if you've got Taylor and Ralston as your fullbacks, it's not going to be an issue. No. This is a game pre-season that I would have said, yeah, you could play Welsh or you could play Scales in and you wouldn't have an issue. Well, Scales is pretty much like one of our first names on the team sheet at the moment, so it's no real issue there. So, yeah, it was interesting to see the lineup. Got a question for you here from James Floyd. Palmer's goal or that professionally trimmed mustache? What do you reckon, Johnny?
Oh, well, yeah. No, the goal. No, yeah. Goal always, yeah. I don't know if it's professionally trimmed. It's more like amateur attempts and YouTube videos.
What do you reckon, Shane?
It was a good goal, but that Mo's doing a fair bit. So I'm gonna go the Mo and get behind that. Sorry, Louis. I've taken to calling him Chicken Palmer, and I feel like that's going to be lost on our wider audience.
Yeah, I think it might be. Yeah.
Come on, chicken, get in. Love it.
People might think I'm having a dig at him, but it's one of Australia's favourite meals, chicken Palmer, and it's Palmer, not Palmy, for anyone who's watching from interstate.
That is correct.
Yeah, you bloody Queenslanders calling it Palmies.
I always called it a Palmer. I think that makes sense.
Who knew that we were going to start a civil Australian fight on a Celtic Down Under podcast? Nobody.
It's the right thing. It has to be done.
Yeah.
There you go. No, this is Mo, Super Mo.
Yeah, I'm Super Mo for the next month or 3 weeks.
I was actually going to say something similar. I was going to do I call you Luigi with the moustache? Super Mario, or do we say it's the old Burt Reynolds stash, or one for the old Australian cricket fans watching the old Alan Border stash? We got heaps of them. We could keep going all pod. We talk no Celtic, Johnny.
That's it. Yeah. We'll just talk an hour of my moustache. Yeah,
mustache grooming tactics and how do you grow it? Yep.
Not a single comment about the coup in the background. Now
No.
it's all about the Mo. Everyone's forgotten that.
Yeah, that's it.
He brought up he's going to cop both.
There we go. Yeah.
Yeah. So realistically, like we'll just mention that on that question there about the goal or the moustache, and I was using that as the segue through to talking about our goals that were scored. So, like, I've got some general notes here. We'll just talk about the goals first, though. So, I thought Turnbull's goal, the best part about it was that little feint that he did to get the defender off balance to like get the space to get the shot. So, to me, I thought that was clever play. I always say that he's very slow, but in that situation, his lack of pace actually helped him out. I think if he was moving faster when he got the ball and everything, then the defender probably wouldn't have taken the bait at that little fake that he did. So it actually worked pretty well for him. What do you think of that goal, Shane?
Yeah, similar to yourself. It was quite funny because I remember the shot. It wasn't scuffed, but he'd had a couple of better looks that Laidlaw had come across and saved, and all of a sudden this one beat him. So it was a little bit surprising because he was saving everything, and shout out to him. I thought he had an excellent game, but no, I pretty much agree with everything you said, Jared. But, we were peppering. Like, we definitely deserved to go in 1-0 up at halftime, that's for sure.
Just pinging them in from everywhere. Shoot on sight because they were sitting that deep, especially after the red card. But, Johnny, what's your thoughts on their goal?
Yeah, echo the same thoughts. And I think, like I was kind of getting at the beginning, like I think the more game time people get, the better they're going to be. Like the stronger the player is. Like I personally can definitely see a player there. Like I remember when we had Giakoumakis and we sort of had the Kyogo Giakoumakis debate, and it was because there were different types of players, but they both gave us something. And then we've come in with O, and we've seen a bit of a drop off. But I can definitely see O being as strong and then potentially better than the type of Giakoumakis because he's got more of those types of things in his game. So it was a very, very good goal. And hopefully we get to see more of it, basically. Hopefully he gets more confident as he plays.
Let's go off on that tangent right there, Johnny, because I want to dig further into that. Oh, I've been saying that I think he's more the Edouard in Rodgers' first season, where he's under Dembele and Griffiths sort of thing, trying to develop and bring it along. But seeing him in that game, a lot of the crosses that we've been putting in throughout the season have been on the ground across to Kyogo or to Maeda making those runs. And on the weekend, with them sitting deep, the crosses were coming in higher. So it was like, let's get O's head onto it. And it actually tended to make I actually thought it looked good. I thought he was getting in the right positions. By doing that, he wasn't getting caught up in the wrestle that he's been doing. So quite a bit. So yeah, it was actually good to see him out moving around, and he's actually a lot more mobile than I remember. Like he's like, I'm not going to say a Kyogo level of movement, but he can press, and he's like a bigger version in terms of Giakoumakis wouldn't really press. He'd just hold shape. Where O will go and put the press, and then he'll recover, and then he'll gather his shape. So at least it's like a combo between from what Giakoumakis was to what Kyogo is. He's the guy in the middle. So it's good to see that.
I totally agree.
Agreed.
I think he's going to be a good player for us. And I like your analogy of like the Edouard type situation where you've got your sort of like known main striker, so to speak, and then you got the other guy that you know there's a player in there, and then all of a sudden you see it, sort of thing. And I still think we're on that. We're before the 3-2 IPOX sort of thing. You know what I mean? Like we're before that sort of eclipse of, oh Christ, we've got a real player on our hands here with O. But I personally think there's a really good player there, and I think there's little things about his game that he needs to get like tidy up a lot, and a lot of that's how close he gets to defenders. I think he gets close to defenders, and then also like the Scales' disallowed goal. Every defender is going to try and do that. Every defender is going to just sit tight against the striker and then go down the second they feel contact. And he needs to get a bit smarter with that sort of stuff. But yeah, like I reckon end of the season, beginning of next season, he's going to be a great player for us, I think.
Shane, you got anything to add?
Yeah, pretty much you boys have covered it. I thought he was really good up at Dingwall. I thought he led the line really well. I thought he did a really good job of sort of holding his position instead of getting sort of sucked in sort of into midfield or trying to get into the wrestle, as you were saying, Jared. I thought he did a good job of trying to hold that line. And, all of a sudden, it looked like we were able to get balls into the box to him and use him to his advantage. So, and, I'm sure we'll touch on the disallowed goal, but how good was that build up down the right hand side? The Maeda ball into him, and it was just because he'd held his position so well and his timing. He'd timed his run perfectly and held where he was, that he was able to finish what should have been a goal, in my opinion. So yeah, no, I thought he did really well. I thought he could have even been a shout for our best player on the day. He was that good.
So Andrew Galea is saying here, O can receive the ball with his back to goal without giving up possession. He's a good young player. And Michael McDonald remember there's about 7 years between O and GG. So that's the thing. We've got those 7 years of development still to happen. So I'm rating him, and something you just said there, Shane, about the and I said earlier as well about the crosses coming in. Like, the first note I've got on the game was quick ball movement in the midfield was leading to our wingers and fullbacks overlapping nicely, getting the crosses in. That's the very first note I've got from the game.
Mm-hmm.
Second note was about a foul on Yang and talking about the VAR and that. So we'll leave all the VAR stuff and all the other that controversy for a little bit. But then my next thing I had was some of Bernardo's passes were questionable or loose around the top of the box. Like, he struggled to hit targets a lot in the first half in particular. I don't know whether it was the pace of the game slower than him or players were standing on their heels or because we were overlapping, he was out of his normal position. But I found that when he was looking to thread the pass through, it was either basically a step behind the guy or it was misplaced or getting intercepted. So we had a lot of I found the first half it wasn't a missing jersey, but he wasn't playing the greatest. Like, you can see a drop off from O'Reilly or Hatate in that role. I know Hatate gives a ball away, bad analogy, but there was a drop off to what Bernardo was giving us.
Yep.
Totally,
I agree with that.
Again, people like Bernardo are someone that you just need to get more game time.
Yeah,
I'm not really sure I've worked Bernardo out yet, as far as like if I feel confident about him when he starts. I think he's decent, but I think it's probably because we haven't seen him play as much as others.
It's going to sound weird, Johnny, but I'm kind of looking at it going, who's the long-term prospect for us? You've got Bernardo at his age and his pedigree playing in that role, or you've got Home, who's our player, was one of the Golden Boy nominees and can play in that role, but can also play deeper. So it's kind of like, I don't know. I think it's those two are battling for that next man off the bench in that role. So we've got our three midfielders. Then if you want to go defensive midfielder, you've got a Wada. If you want to go for an 8 or a 10, it's either Home or Bernardo playing in that role. So it's going to be, it's going to be interesting to see how it all plays out. But there's some comments here. So Mahesh is Bernardo inconsistent, but that long-range chip behind the line for Maeda was sublime. Yeah, credit where it's due. Long-range passing is great from him. It's that short-range stuff that Rogic used to do around the top of the box and Moy used to do that I'm struggling to see much from him at the moment. Then Andrew Galea Bernardo was least effective, plays safe all the time. Paolo O'Bernard. There you go. That's his over there name.
It's interesting that you mention, obviously, Rogic and Moy in line with Home and Bernardo, because I thought we saw another good cameo at Dingwall from Home when he came on. Looked really good. And I noted down that there's a nonchalant way that he moves and shifts the ball that reminds me of a Rogic. There's this kind of easiness to the way he gets and distributes the ball that looks effortless. And his movement between the lines, there's a graceness there. So, or gracefulness, sorry. So, another really good cameo from him finding his way back. Right now, if we're looking to put someone beside O'Reilly and Calmac with Hatate injured, I'm probably leaning more towards Home than Bernardo.
That's exactly how I feel.
That's what I think it'll be in Madrid.
Yeah, I feel more confident, and I get watching home is more enjoyable than watching Bernardo. I think home, they've both got a lot of growth to do. And if you look at who's getting a start, Roger seems to think Bernardo's ahead of home. So that maybe there's stuff behind in training and stuff. Like that's where a manager picks his team, is in the training pitch. So maybe home's not training as hard, but I honestly think that when home comes on, he's more impactful and it's more enjoyable to watch him.
I don't know if he's behind him. Like, just to jump in real quick, I don't know if it's home's behind him. I think I feel like Rodgers was frustrated with home getting sent off in Rotterdam. I just have this feeling the recklessness of that challenge at the time of the game really annoyed him. I don't know if he's behind him, as you were saying, but I think he just wants to rotate the squad at this opportunity. So Bernardo's getting an opportunity. I think he's seen enough from home that he goes, there's a player here that I want to see, but I want to see what I've got in Bernardo as well. So I think that's more it. Sorry, Jared, to jump in.
No, I was just going to say, Shane, when you said about home and the gracefulness or whatever, the way he plays, you said gracefulness. I think the word I would have used would be swagger. Like, he just gets out there, swagger, or saunters around the pitch. Like, he knows he's good. He knows what he's doing. And it's just a matter of, and he's got that self-belief. So it's just like, yep, I'm Johnny Big Balls here. I'm on the pitch, blah, blah, blah.
What did you say?
Sorry, Johnny Holmes. Yeah, so it's just like he wanders around like that, and it's just one of those things where it's he just has that swagger about him. But yeah,
so
I think
little bit of BDE. Don't look it up on a work computer.
You might see a picture of my face. I don't know. Listen, I've got this facial feature. I need to be a little bit seedy. Come on.
Just your seedy making comments like that, that's for sure.
Brilliant. Yeah, so what we'll do is we'll just quickly talk about we'll go through our player focus. We've got a few goals to talk about still, and then we'll just get into the VAR stuff. So that's probably the easiest way there. Johnny, come up with something that VAR stands for relating to your moustache, or everyone in the comments, let us know what it could mean.
God, I'm not quick enough to come up with a moustache-related VAR acronym, but yeah.
So I'll just quickly go through the rest of the notes I had. I had Scales, CCV, and O all made good targets from Turnbull's corners. I thought Turnbull was actually quality from the corners, like with putting them in, he was hitting spots where he needed to put them. However, Palmer's corner later on where he tried to score direct from it was cheeky as hell, all hell, and I loved it. Then I've got Turnbull's goal. We spoke about that. Palmer's goal was unreal. It was an absolute belter. So let's just talk about that goal. Absolute worldie. What do you think, Johnny?
Oh, it was phenomenal. And that's a player that is exactly what we've been talking about, where the more game time he's been given, the more confident he plays, and these little technical masterclasses come out. I know we're saying that it's not a like for like player when we've got Jota, but we've definitely got like a caliber for caliber. I don't know actually their age difference, so I don't know if Palmer's got potential to grow beyond, but we've definitely got that sort of X factor type winger, really. That sort of player that plays with that swagger, like we're talking about, and plays with that such confidence. To make a shot from that distance and for it to dink down that quick, that's real technical ability. Like that's difficult to do. Like I don't get into, I don't know if it was a knuckleball or anything, but it was that type of, rising and dipping really fast. That's from what I understand, that's a really difficult thing to do. So it's
Carlos Esquan, Johnny.
Yeah, that's exactly that perfect example. Like it's just perfect like mold for Celtic, Celtic's wingers and stuff is to play with that type of confidence. And I really think the more he plays, the better he's going to get. We're really going to see a player there. I don't necessarily see huge deficiencies in his game, but obviously every player can get better. But for him, it's just playing more confidently and even we'll talk about assists in a bit, but the fact that he's getting goals and assists, so like already in the season is just fantastic. Like he's actually a very enjoyable player to watch.
You want to know something, Johnny? He's already made one improvement. He's ditched the all black boots that people were saying made him look like he was moving slow. Now he's getting his fit. Yeah, Celtic Twitter's got some conspiracy theory bollocks going on there.
And is he gone with like the racing stripe that gives him extra speed? Is that what we've got now?
Should get red boots because reds go fast, right?
Yeah, that's right. The flames. Yeah, of course. Yeah,
flames or something. Yeah, totally.
Plus one speed.
I noticed on the weekend, I'm like, there was a close up when he was getting ready to hit, and I'm like, oh, he doesn't have his black boots on. There you go. And then 2 minutes later, he puts that one in, and I'm like, hey, there you go. That's one for all the people on Twitter to shove their black boot comments up their backsides.
Well,
what do you think, Shane?
Wonderful bit of skill, quality finish, quality strike. You guys have covered off all of that pretty much in detail. I thought it was really important. I thought second half we hadn't actually started very well. I thought first half we looked good. I thought early part of the second half we looked a bit pedestrian, and they were sitting deep and we were struggling to play through. And I thought his introduction really changed that, and that goal kind of capped off that change in momentum. And the other thing to note on it was just that he made a beeline for the bench and to celebrate with Harry Kewell. So maybe it's something that he's been working on with him, and he wanted to show his appreciation. But yeah, wonderful strike. But I thought it was a really important time in the game too for us to get that second goal.
Talking about Harry Kewell, you can see his impact there. The whole scoring goals, scoring assists, like getting the assists and everything like that. That's Harry at his Leeds days.
Yep.
Johnny, you were going to say something before I threw to Shane?
Oh no, I was just going to continue with hyperbole. Basically, I just think he's a great player. He's probably the one player that I enjoy watching the most at the moment.
Johnny, we got a question for you from Michael Ross. Mustachio question, is it for November?
That sounds very good. Yeah, it is. Yeah, I mean, I tell you what, the real reason why I'm doing it is, like I said, I wanted to do it last year, but I was meeting my partner's father for the first time. I thought it'd be a bit gross to turn up with this. How you doing, sir?
She calls me daddy now.
She listens as well.
I'm sorry. Had to though. Had to. Sorry. Put myself in the naughty corner now.
No, I think it is for November. November, I don't know if it's not that popular in the UK, but it's very popular in Australia, and it's for men's health problems. And we've done all the charity stuff. We've done the charity stuff here at the pod, and I think most of my male friends have some sort of mental health problem. So just allyship, I guess, just putting something on my face.
What's the email address for complaints, Jared?
Yep.
Yeah.
admin@celticdownunder.com. There you go. Send it through. Send me the abuse. I just had to, though. Sorry, Johnny.
Nah, it was very good. Very good.
Yeah, had to be done. All for comic value. Hope she doesn't want to punch me.
Nah, anyway. I'm sure she'll be fine.
Yeah, and then we had the other goal. We'll get back to that now. So the other goal, the assist from old mate Palmer. Shane's lost it. Assist for Palmer with the goal for Forest. So what was that? His first goal this season. So it's that 15 straight seasons he's scored for us. So that means he's getting up there in the charts. I think the record's 18 straight seasons someone scored for us. So he's not far off now. Good to see Jamesy getting out there and getting the job done.
Yeah.
Shane, what's your thoughts on that?
Dangerous to throw to me so quickly after that laughing fit. No, fantastic achievement. So 15 consecutive seasons. So massive shout out to Jamesy for that. That's tremendous. Like when you think about that, that's a remarkable feat. So credit to him and his persistence and his longevity. And Brendan sees a player there still that he wants to use and maximize. So credit to him. You don't do that if you're completely past it, and he's not. So he's still got an important role to play, and he shows it. But what I wanted to highlight in the build-up for that goal was the work of O. So O is really important to the build-up of that goal. He wins the ball and gets it out to Palmer, who puts in a cracking cross, which Jamesy just has to nod in. But it's all through O's hard work. If you go back and look at that footage, he's really important in winning that ball to get it out to Palmer. And it was just another highlight of the work rate that he sort of put in throughout the match, I should say. So yeah, that's what I wanted to highlight. My notes is his involvement in that goal.
Yeah, it's fair effort. Good point, Shane. I'll agree with you on that. You said pretty much what I was going to say. There was like just the effort and to get it to that situation there. Yeah, there was a couple other guys involved. There was there was I can't remember who it was that got the ball across to him and everything. So yeah, fair effort. Johnny, anything to add?
Yeah, well, look, my 2 cents is I still think Jamesy Forrest is criminally underrated. I still think he's got. Look, I'm not saying that he's going to be a central feature of our seasons going forward, but he is consistently showing up at the times we need him to show up. He's still banging in goals that, you know, think of that Lazio goal that the screamer he did in Italy and stuff, and he's still got that in his arsenal. He's still got those types of goals. So it's not like he's lost everything. It's all right. He's a little bit slower, and that comes with aging players and stuff, but I still believe he's criminally underrated. I really, really do. And I still think he's got a big part to play. And I don't think we should ever write him off. I think Celtic fans have done that consistently in his career. And he always turns up. He always gets better, and he always puts in the effort. So yeah, great goal. Great positional awareness. Palmer obviously looks up, sees him, perfect dink, perfect header. Yeah, it was just a great goal.
All right, question without notice then, boys. We're talking about Jamesy being criminally underrated. Coming out of our youth academy, playing on the wing, similar sort of type of player, Aidan McGeady, James Forrest. Discuss. Who would you rather have at the club? Because McGeady went for a club record, remember?
Mm.
And he was flying before he left. And now you've got Jamesy, who has been here longer, has done it longer, but probably hasn't hit the highs in a season that McGeady has hit. So that's where I'm looking at that going. It's a tough one because it's a shorter impact, but a higher output in terms of in each season was what McGeady was doing. But at the same time, he was a bit of a dick behind the scenes. And then you've got Jamesy, consummate professional. You don't hear any trouble from him, and he's just consistently done it year on year on year on year. So it's a bit of a tough one. Let us know in the comments as well. McGeady or Forrest?
I think you kind of summed it up, Jared. I think you take McGeady at his best, and you take Jamesy over his career. I think if you were to look at consistent effort and longevity of career, sort of that sort of stuff, you can't say that Forrest is worse than McGeady. But if you want to say like who had the highest point in their career, you have to say McGeady. McGeady at his best is much better than Forrest, in my opinion.
Yeah, it all depends on whether you go for that burst of quality over that short amount of time, or the consistent longevity over the 15 seasons. Personally, I'd probably lean towards the longevity, just because I think it not only does it still show a quality player. You don't spend that long at a club scoring in 15 consecutive seasons unless you're a good player. But it also shows that he's been able to be a good team player as well. And I think that's really important for a squad that you're building and having a squad mentality. So if I had to pick, and it's tough, I agree, but I'd probably lean towards Jamesy.
There you go. I concur. Jamesy for me as well. By an official measurement known as a bee's dick. So we'll get into the actual individual players. We're going to go through. So who would have been your man of the match, Shane? Give us a shout out to 2 or 3 players and your man of the match for the game.
Well, the 3 I was probably going to highlight. So we've already talked ad nauseum about I thought he had an excellent game. I really enjoyed Yang's first half. I thought he was really good. I thought he was obviously causing James Brown enough trouble that he got sent off. But then I thought he continued after that and kept working hard. And he looked like he was making things happen. So I really enjoyed his output. I thought, and then, second half, I thought Palmer in the time that he had on the pitch. I thought he was excellent. So of those three, we've already talked ad nauseum about but Yang and Palmer are really good. But I would have had Scales as my man of the match, to be honest. I thought he was solid again. Didn't put a foot wrong, but particularly second half. Obviously, he had the goal disallowed first half. But second half, he was really bringing the ball forward. He was looking to try and make things happen. He was looking to try and get that ball moving and get players in behind. And there are a couple of really good lofted passes into the box where he played Kyogo on and possibly Palmer at one stage. I can't quite remember the second. He really had that impetus of trying to make things happen when bringing the ball up. So I probably leaned towards Scales, but it was definitely a field where you could have thrown a blanket over maybe 3 or 4 of them as the best player. And that's just from a Celtic point of view. If you really want the best player on the park, it's probably Laidlaw, to be perfectly frank, because without him, they're shipping 6 or 7. So in all fairness, he was probably man of the match, but from a Celtic point of view, I'm leaning towards Liam Scales.
That's the way I was going to go there, Shane. I was going to say Laidlaw was man of the match. Like, it could have been 5 or 6 up at halftime.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then by full time, could have been that game of 10 that I've been calling for years. Like, that's the sort of thing that was happening there. So, I thought Scales was great for us, as you've said. Laidlaw was the other. I thought they were the 2 best on the pitch. John, you got anything you wanna spotlight?
Well, look, same sort of players. Yeah, I totally agree. Yang and then Palmer. We've spoke a lot about O's performance. I think the only one that we really need to focus on, and somebody who greatly frustrates me, and that was Turnbull's performance. And I thought he had a fairly good game. And what really genuinely annoys me about the player is if he was just even remotely consistent, even just average to better, then he would be one of the better Celtic players that we have. But his problem is when he's poor, he's really poor. He seems to do better when he takes a break from not playing, and then he comes on, and then he has a couple of really good games, and he gets shy again, and that's very frustrating to watch this player. But I thought Turnbull's goal was good. I thought he had he provided good options. I thought he contributed well to the game. Just a frustrating player for me. I just think it's just one of those hot and cold players that is at Celtic for a reason, sort of thing.
Well, Jared said it before. His set pieces were excellent, I thought.
Yeah,
Pretty much all of his crosses were great. He just needed takers. Like everything was, even the couple of free kicks that he took, really good. Just needed someone to get on the end of it. So, and I didn't mind so much a midfield of Bernardo and Turnbull against a team that was sitting so deep that they weren't really going to threaten to steal the ball in midfield. I thought actually having 2 players, particularly Turnbull, who was a bit slower and more prone to take an extra touch and to maybe think a bit more without rushing it or having to move quickly, actually benefited us a little bit more as we were able to sort of shift it around a bit and we were a bit more patient where we needed to be. I think the risk is when we have a slow midfield, when we've got a team that might be sitting deep, but it will also look to win the ball back in midfield and break. When they went down to 10, there was very little chance, I thought, of them doing that. And that's why I thought that the midfield worked relatively well with him at the sort of leading it.
I'm going to go on a little tangent here. Think back to Rodgers' first stint. He had Bruni alongside Kelmack. Bruni's legs were going, right? So you had Kelmack alongside him as the young up-and-coming midfielder who was doing a lot of Bruni's running for him and was covering him, letting him just sit in that space, clog it up, intercept, did a lot of that. Now you get into the midfield that we had on the weekend. And this is the issue that we had when you have Turnbull and O'Reilly out there together. The balance doesn't seem right. If you have Turnbull out there when he was with Hatade did his running for Turnbull. In the weekend, you saw it where Bernardo did the running for Turnbull. So Turnbull's the sort of guy that from a corner and a set piece, he's good. Getting him in the box to get on the end of passes and that, he's good. But it's that bit from halfway to the top of the box where he gets the ball and is expected to make that pass or make a quick decision and move it on, where he's just really slow, where it's take the extra touch, try to beat a man again, rather than, okay, one touch, move it, and then run. One touch, move it, and run. That's where he's really slow, and that's the issue for me with the way we try to play. And on the weekend, we saw both sides of how good and how frustrating he can be. I agree with Johnny. He's frustrating because in that area, he didn't really seem to do much. But once we got the free kicks or we got a corner kick, suddenly like, oh, look at Turnbull putting the delivery in. Like I said earlier, it was great to see. So it's just like, it was like, was it Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde or whatever the saying is? I probably got it completely wrong. But it's kind of like
that's
that.
right.
It's a Jekyll and Hyde thing. There you go. It's a bit all over the place. So, yeah, it was, I don't know. It was a strange one for me with Turnbull. Any other players you want to focus on, Johnny?
Well, we kind of covered them all, to be honest. I think, I mean, we discussed Scales, who I also thought had a great game, was, very unfortunate to get that goal marked off, to be honest. I'm not entirely sure that was a foul, personally. I think it was quite a soft one, but yeah, and look, I think, the only other real player that had a great game was Maeda. We haven't really spoken about Maeda. Thought played very, very well. Obviously, that cross into O being probably one of his biggest highlights. But again, just a player that's consistent for us and always shows up. He's still got lots of energy, and I think he's going to be deadly against Madrid.
Happy days. So, everyone, time to explode the comments section talking about VAR. Unleash, please.
I
want to see some things. So, first thing was we're talking about VAR early on. I said we've got to find something for Johnny's moustache relating to VAR. So
I saw this comment.
Vastly avoiding the razor. There you go. That'll do it. So now that's out of the way. We'll get back to the actual pod here. So the whole VAR situation, it's like, it's a gift and a curse. Like, it's the easiest way I can sum it up for this game. The gift is the yellow card being upgraded to a red card early on. It was a clear red card incident. You look at the ref, he's right there looking at it, but you got to see it in slow-mo to see how late and how high he hit him on the inside of the ankle. So it's a red card thing. So the reason for VAR is they've got to review anything that's a clear and obvious error is the official wording. That was a clear and obvious error, only giving a yellow when it should have been a red. So that worked great. But then O's goal being chalked off, I know you got to review every goal, but the still that they used to show that he was offside, if you look back at where the ball is on that still, the ball's already in the air. It's been played. So he's stopped it at the wrong still to put the lines on, which put him offside. But if you went back to when the actual ball was being played, like, a little step back, he would have been onside. So they got it wrong. So it clearly shows the incompetence of the guy there not knowing what he was doing. And Andrew Galea just said the same thing I just said there. The ball was away from his foot when the lines were drawn and there was nothing in it. Absolute BS. I would agree. So that's what I mean by VAR's a gift and a curse. It's like you can have the greatest system in the world. It can work well, but if the person operating it doesn't know the rules or doesn't do the right thing, there's still a human error element in it, which is what happened on that one. Shane, I know how much you love VAR, so I'm going to throw to you for your take on that.
Well, we're also we should talk about the first goal that was chalked off, the Scales goal, which I've got no problem with for VAR or VAR or however you want to refer to it. Look, ref called a foul. As Jared, you just said, it's got to be clear and obvious error. As much as the O's hand on the Ross County defender's shoulder seemed really, really light, the ref had blown up for a foul. There was nothing clear and obvious to overturn about that. So to get back to what you were saying, Jared, gift and a curse, I mean, it didn't go in our favor, but that's probably VAR actually working properly, which is it's been reviewed. Is there anything clear and obvious? No, there isn't. And then you get the Yang and the James Brown situation. That's exactly what it's there for. That was a horrible challenge. That was a straight red every day of the week. Obviously, the ref didn't catch it in real time. VAR looked at it and said, hang on, that's bad. You need to look at this. Saw it. Yep, that's a clear and obvious red. I've made a mistake. Let's sort that out. So it's going pretty well at this point, to be honest. VAR's actually probably having one of its better days. But the offside situation completely throws that, and it was farcical, or it was farcical if you want to use that terminology. I think for me, so offside's always interesting because with the other decisions that we just went on, that's more about it's your objective is, oh, I think that's a foul, or I think that should be overturned, or yeah, I think that's a red. Whereas with offside, it's meant to be kind of like you're either offside or you're not. It's either black or white. It's definitive. I would argue, assuming that the footage that was shown on the telecast is what's used to make the decision, that the footage, if the footage itself isn't definitive enough to help you make that call, can you really then overturn it? And that's where I would lean on saying, I don't think that footage, whether or not it's the guy doing it himself or whether it's simply even the camera angle does my head in, if that footage isn't sufficient enough for you to make a call to say, yes, he's in line, or yes or no, he's ahead, then I don't think that you can overturn it personally. And that's where you're introducing objectivity into offsides. But it almost comes down to a situation with those camera angles, which are just laughable. And you remember the one last season against Motherwell, right? That absolutely awful decision. It's almost like if you're not going to do it properly, don't do it at all. And I don't think that we're in the Premiership, we're in a situation where we've got the technology or what we need to actually make those decisions properly. If you're going to be definitive on the offside, you've got to have evidence to make it clear that it's definitively offside. And obviously the operator got it wrong with the fact that the ball was away from the foot when he did the still, which was a complete rookie error. But even then, like looking at that angle, how you can say it's definitively offside from that anyway, for me, that's yeah, not for me. So, yeah, it was pretty terrible.
Yep, 100%. Johnny, got anything to add on that one?
Yeah, look, my overall thoughts on that particular situation and VAR in general is, yes, okay, it is down to the operator. It is, the operator is the one that chooses the still. And he's the one that shows the referee on the pitch and all of those things. And it was a clear error that, the ball had already left the foot and all of those things. My only defense of why VAR is good is because these types of decisions were chalked up to conspiratorial. If we had this situation where we didn't have VAR, it would be completely the narrative would have been, oh, we're just whinging Celtic fans, right? And now what we currently have is a system where we can say, well, look, there's your evidence. So I'm being very optimistic, probably naively so. And in saying that, I do think that it will improve the refereeing standard of Scottish football because we can actually hold them accountable. We can actually say, this is unacceptable. You've made an error. You've actually got time and opportunity to not make the error, and you haven't gone through due diligence. And the prime example of this, and it is different levels, it's very, very different levels. But the levels of this is, see what happened with the Liverpool goal in the Premier League, and the absolute implosion of what happened when there was a VAR error in that. And we don't have that level, but it is in the same vein of, well, this was a goal that was disallowed from a VAR error. Where is the scrutiny? Where is the accountability? I don't think we're doing that. I don't think the Scottish media is doing that. I don't think the Footballing Association is doing that. I don't think Celtic are doing that. I don't think there's enough from Celtic side of it of being like, you need to explain yourself. But I think we as fans are doing that. But again, it will be chalked up to we're just whinging sort of thing. So I am hopeful that these types of situations won't happen. But this is really obviously erroneous, right? This is really obviously a mistake. And hopefully, because we can now we've got evidence that this is unacceptable, we'll see less and less. But like I say, naively optimistic. There's still a big part of me that thinks, well, it will just be part of our game forever, and it's just the flavour of Scottish football.
I know FIFA will never allow it, but the thing for me is I love the one where, the ref was mic'd up over here in the A-League those few years ago, Shane.
Yeah.
And you can actually hear the conversations and what he was doing and everything. I know VAR is here to stay, as Mahesh is saying. We just have to improve it. Yeah, I'd agree with you on that. There's issues with it everywhere, but it's one of them ones where I look at it and think, if you've got players out there and it's their livelihood, and they've got to then say if they make a mistake and then they get interviewed, they get their name thrown through the mud in the newspapers, whatever. Like that bloke who got sent off for Ross County, the game changed at that point. Before that, they seemed to look okay going forward, and then their whole week plan that they'd spent the whole however many days preparing for was gone. So I look at it and think he's probably going to cop it a bit in the local papers up there, right? Now, if he's going to make a mistake and he's going to cop it, their coach gets under pressure because they're losing a few games. He's going to cop some pressure. If the referees then can just be like, "Oh yeah, we made a mistake," but nothing to see here. No one's going to hear anything. There's no accountability. Like I'd love it if after the games the refs had to come forward for like a 5-minute chat and be like, "Okay," and then the ref on the weekend can be like, "I gave a yellow for that before VAR got involved because this is what I saw," and explain it from their point of view on the pitch. Then there's the accountability.
You know why they'll never do that though in Scottish football? It's because refs. Well, it's good. Well, yeah, yeah. Well, but it's their part time. It's their part time refs. They're not full time, so it means that if they came out and were publicly accountable, they've got to go to their day jobs, and it's just it would just be silly people would do silly stuff, and it would. So
look at it this way, John. If I fuck up in my job, I get reprimanded, and I've got to cop it and come forward and just say what's happened. Go to my manager and say, "Yeah, I've made a mistake on this. We should have done blah blah blah. This is costing the company $3,000." They're not going to be happy about it. This guy makes a mistake. I know it's a part-time job for him, but he's still an employee doing a job. So there's got to be some accountability.
Oh, 100%, totally agree. And it needs to be more than just a couple of games demoted into the lower leagues. It needs to be something. I mean, you joked, but we need more fairness of where we source our refereeing talent from, and not just the one community or the one association.
Yep, 100%. So the other thing I wanted to touch on is, it was mentioned in the comments, the shirt pulling on O all game was just ridiculous. Like that was at Juventus levels of dark arts from corners. Going way back a few years in Lenny's stint, I think it was, where we're playing Juventus in the Champions League, and they were just like standing with like if my mic here is the defender, they were holding it with their hands around like it's not touching but surrounding him. He was just kept copping it all game. Yet the same thing was given a penalty against Hearts a few weeks ago for a certain Sevco, and there was more contact on them pretty much at every corner this weekend, and not even a free kick. Ridiculous.
Was ridiculous. Totally agree. And there should have been some form of foul or penalty there as well, but maybe not clear and obvious, to the referee on the pitch.
One thing I just want to go, I just forgot something I was going to say. I was talking about the refs having to do the interviews.
Mm-hmm.
That's one thing. I don't like rugby union, but I will give credit where it's due. Their referees do come forward and do that after games. Or their TMO refs will talk about things, and you can hear it through their mics during the game. And then the refs will come out after the game and discuss it. Like I noticed that during the Rugby World Cup. So, yeah, you're just looking at one government, one body globally compared with FIFA. It's not going to happen.
Well, I mean, it's not quite the same. And what we're really getting at here is just accountability in general, right? And making sure that refs are more consistent. And what did happen under a FIFA regime was at the FIFA Women's World Cup, whenever there was a decision made, the referee stood to the side and then announced to the stadium. It's not like they were consistently mic'd for the TV viewers, but do you know what I'm talking about? That like when those key decisions were made, they would announce it to make sure that everybody understood. Like they didn't even need to explain themselves, they didn't need to justify it. They just, here's why we're doing it this way. And I think that
was the issue I had with it though. I know exactly what you're talking about. I was about to make that comment before, but the issue I had was they would simply say on review it's a penalty, but they wouldn't actually explain why or go into any detail. They were on review. We deemed it to be a deliberate handball, or on review, the hand wasn't in a natural position. It was just on review, it's penalty. Now, that's better. That's an improvement to what we've got, but it's also good to have that explanation behind it, which is what I agree with Jared. And look, if rugby union can do it, I'm not a rugby fan. that sport looks a nightmare to actually referee in terms of all the intricate rules and so forth that they've got to try and keep on top of. If they can do it, you'd think FIFA could take a leaf out of their book. But obviously, I don't think this is happening anytime soon.
Or even the NFL. So the American football, the referees have their mics. They turn them on and off as they need to talk to over the whole stadium. They go, holding number 55 defense, 5 meter penalty, first down. I hear that all the time.
Yep.
I remember that exact number because it cost me a bet and cost me my multi for a Super Bowl one year. Bastard. But, stuff like that, it's like at least you can understand what the call was. So, I don't know. Long story short, we can hope and pray. Let's just crack on to our next topic anyway, because this could go for another hour easily.
It certainly could.
Yeah.
I just wanted to bring up that St. Johnstone have a new manager. It's Craig Levine. Welcome to 1980s football again, everyone. Route 1 football. It's going to be disgusting. However, it will be great if you listen to any of the BBC or Sports Sound or any of that sort of stuff presses after matches, because this guy's off his chops. So it's going to be absolutely brilliant to have him back for that reason only. Now we'll crack on and we'll preview Celtic versus Atletico Madrid. I think it's Tuesday night over there, Wednesday morning our time. So,
yep,
yeah, it's going to be an interesting one. I think I'll watch the first half, then have to get to work with it playing on my phone, going through the Bluetooth in the car, just listening to it like commentary. It's going to be fun.
Big game.
Yep.
So, are we going to rotate the players after the weekend's results? Like the 4 guys that I mentioned in particular, like Kyogo, Johnson, bloody hell, mental blank here, O'Reilly and Palmer. Do you reckon they'll all be starting? Shane, what will be your starting lineup?
No, he's going to keep the same team that won 3-0 at Dingwall. You know that. Come on. We're going there. Yang's on the left, Made's on the right. O's leading the line. Bernardo's partnering Turnbull. No, they'll come in. He's definitely rested them for this match. So I'm thinking lineup is obviously Taylor, Scales, CCV, Johnston comes back in. Your midfield 3 is where it gets interesting. I think there's a couple of different combinations you could go with. I've seen Iwata, McGregor, O'Reilly mooted. I just can't. I love the idea. I really do. I can't see it happening in a big game like this. I can't see him pushing McGregor forward and leaving Iwata as the 6 in this game. I think it's something we will see throughout maybe other games, maybe locally first before we try it at Champions League level. So I'm probably leaning towards home McGregor, O'Reilly. Now, up front, again, you've got a couple of different options. I really miss Maeda on the left, but he seems to be more prone to playing him on the right now. So I'm going to say Palmer comes in and starts on the left. I think Maeda keeps his position on the right, and then you have Kyogo leading the line. Little bit of a risk. I think it's our best starting 11. A little bit of a risk is that we obviously don't really have a lot of players that can come off the bench to kind of change the course of the game if things aren't going well. But I think you've always got to start your best available starting 11 in matches like this. And that's our best starting 11 for me right now. So that's my team.
Johnny, what do you reckon?
Yeah, that was my gut instinct as well. Almost exactly the same. And the only one that I could see just out of, I guess, what Rodgers has been doing previously is Bernardo there instead of Home. And because I think Home's really come on as a sub player more often than not. And I think the occasion, this is for us to have football. I know you can tell me about all the different combinations, but I think for us to reasonably have football after Christmas, this is a must win, right? So he's going to go with who's been playing most, who's been consistent, and who you can trust. So I think if I was a betting man, I could probably say Bernardo was going to start over Home, but I would prefer Home to start. Personally, but it would be a huge game for Home to play. That's a big void for him to fill, big shoes to fill. So he would have to be on his best game, and I just don't know if that's the occasion might get to him and stuff. And but I think everybody else is playing really well, so I don't think this is going to be I think it's going to be very similar to the game at Celtic Park. Like I said, big game. But that would be my lineup. My preference would be to start home McGregor and O'Reilly.
So if you're doing that, John, is it a 4-3-3 or is it a 4-2-3-1? And you've got O'Reilly playing alongside McGregor, and then you've got home playing in the 10, or home playing alongside an O'Reilly in the 10 with the wingers. So, because we've got guys talking here, you've got like Andrew Galea saying a 3-5-2, which is what I'm thinking. We wouldn't be shocked to see that. And
I would be. Sorry, go ahead.
Pete's saying a 4-2-3-1. So, yeah, I just think with how much we run out of legs in the second half against them last time with the high press that we played, then you factor in the heat going from playing in Dingwall where it was foggy for half the game and cold to then have to go all the way over to Madrid where it's going to be toasty and everything. I think it's going to be a bit of an interesting one.
I personally don't see 3-5-2 happening. I think that is a formation that we haven't played a lot, and this is, if Rodgers wants to have an opportunity to win this, he's going to default to what he's comfortable with, and for him that's 4-2-3-1. That's Rodgers' style. So I think that is more often than I think that's likely what we're going to get, and I think that sort of spreads out that sort of the legs problem and not having the 4-3-3 where you've got the issues with energy and stuff. Or I think you've got a good spread there.
Who are you playing as the third centre back, Jared?
Probably Phillips.
Oh, okay.
That's not gonna. That's
gives me fear.
Yeah, let's say that's gonna send the fear up a few people.
No, there's a reason for it. Phillips plays right in the middle as your centre of the back three. Then you have Carter Vickers on the right, and you have Scales on the left. So Scales is now on the left, where he's covering for Taylor getting targeted last time, because Taylor's now playing as a wing back. So in defence, we're playing with 5 at the back with the wing backs in with Johnson and Taylor. But in attack, they push forward up in the midfield, right? So by doing that, then we're also going to be sitting back. It's going to be Rodgers reverting to his Leicester days where he's trying to hit teams on the counter. And then you've got Maeda and Kyogo with their speed to burn up front. Get the ball, get into the middle of your park, ping it forward. And because their centre-backs are some donkeys, they're pretty slow. So you imagine getting those balls over the top and letting Maeda and Kyogo get sprinting in behind them. I think it could work. I wouldn't be surprised to see that. But at the same time, if we went the 4-3-3 like last time, that wouldn't shock me. And I'd go with the lineup that you guys have said already. If he went a 4-2-3-1, I'd go with the lineups you said, Johnny, as well. So I've got no problem with any of it. It wouldn't surprise me if we saw a 3-5-2, though, for that reason. So there's plenty of reasons behind it. But the key things are, where can we take advantage of them? Because we know we're not going to have as much of the ball as we did at home against them. So
well, I think Rodgers' game plan will still be to try and control as much of the possession as possible. Like I think it will still be fairly even. I don't think we're going to expect like a 60-40, 70-30 split in Madrid's favor. I think we'll probably still still be close to 50-50 in possession. Our problem will be pushing too far up and getting done on the counter. That's where we get caught out in Europe. Because we're very, very used to a lot of possession and we're very, very used to a high press. We get very sloppy at the back, and that's where we get punished. So I think Madrid's plan could be a 4-4-2 and to sit off and let Celtic to have their game, make a mistake, and then transition straight into a counter, and that's where goals will come. It's where we've been done before. Valencia did us that way. So, we could see a reasonable amount of possession.
I'm going to bring up Pete's comment here. FYI, the weather in Madrid tomorrow night is showing a high of 12 degrees, so that's far from toasty. Thanks for that, Pete. I wasn't aware of it. Currently here in Melbourne at 10 p.m, it is 21 degrees. So it's warmer here in Melbourne than it will be in Madrid. There you go.
It's freezing in Brisbane at 19. Everybody's chittering.
It's warmer in Melbourne than in Brisbane at the moment. Figure that out.
We've had big storms. It's all cold now.
Yeah, but that mo will keep you warm though.
Yeah. Just the lip, just the top lip. Yeah. Everything else is freezing. Keep feeling the breeze.
Yeah, lovely. So where will the game be won, boys? Johnny, where are you thinking?
Well, it's a tough one. I think Celtic wins games in the midfield. I think that's where I think when we control the midfield, when we play better, we win the game. Depending on how we play. If we play 3-5-2, it's going to be super defensive. So it's going to be our front two. That's where we win the game. So I guess I think any other formation, it will be how we play in the mid. But if we play that 3-5-2, the game will be won with our front two, Maeda and Kyogo probably.
Shane?
I was going to say midfield up until Johnny said it, so I'll try and do something different. No, I actually think genuinely, and this might surprise a few people, I think up front. I think our front third, because I think we need to make sure we capitalize on the chances that we do create, because we might not create many, but if we can capitalize, all of a sudden we're a chance to get a point or even all three. So I think there's been a couple of times in Europe where we've just, we've missed a couple of chances or we haven't taken them, and all of a sudden we've lost or we've taken a point where we should have taken all three. And it's crucial that any chances that we do create, that we finish, and that we make sure that we do score when we've got those golden opportunities. So I'm going to say up front, our front third is going to be crucial for us to get anything out of Madrid.
Get out my brain, man. That's what I was going to say as well. But yeah, it's up front for me. Like, I don't know how many chances we're going to get. Are we going to get maybe 2 clear shots on goal? We've got to convert. Like, we played Real Madrid home and away last year, and the biggest issue for us at that level was we just didn't take our chances. We've been guilty of it against Feyenoord. We've been guilty of it against Lazio. We've been guilty of it against Atletico Madrid so far. We've got to convert, and the chances will be limited. So if Maeda gets a shot at one-on-one against their, Oblak, their keeper, who's hard to beat, he's got to put it away. If Kyogo's got to do it, it's the same deal. We've got to convert. However, we'll go with Pete's thing here. He's saying the best we can hope for is to pack our defence for 89 minutes and then try and hit him on the break with a Maeda run and a pass to Kyogo to score a screamer. Hey, I'll take it.
Yeah. Very negative, but I don't think Celtic plays negative.
Michael Ross is saying 60-yard daisy cutter from Scales in the 97th minute goal. It's the winner. There you go. Let's get it all crazy. That's it. I'm saying, yep, Joe Hart's going to score it. He's going to come up for a corner for some reason. Probably get confused which goal is in, go to the wrong one, and realize, oh, hang on, header it in. Done. We're all going to get silly. Let's just go with that. So, score predictions, Johnny.
Yeah, I reckon. Look, I'll be optimistic, and like I said before, it's an absolute must win for us. So I'm going to say 2-1 to Celtic, and I reckon it's going to be equal for a while, and then we might see an 80th minute goal or something like that. I reckon Kyogo, Maeda, I think they're the ones. They're our goal scorers.
Shane, who's gonna score?
We're gonna do something very un-Celtic or not Celtic like. We're going to create 3 chances throughout the match and we're going to score all 3. So we're going to win 3-1. Kyogo nets a goal. I reckon Palmer nets a goal and Kalmak. So there's our 3 goal scorers and we win 3-1.
Was it not, just interject, sorry, was the last time, correct me if I'm wrong here, the last time we scored 3 goals away in Europe was against Anderlecht, right? In like 2017. Yeah.
Okay. You don't have to make me feel bad about my prediction. I'm trying to be optimistic here. You don't have to just shit all over it straight away.
I'm just seeing where you are, where your brain's at, man. Like, yeah, okay.
That's the beer going straight to his head. Andrew Galea is saying 1-0 Celtic in a classic bruiser.
Yeah.
And I'm saying this is a joke one, just it's pretty simple. It's a 10-0 game. We're winning 10. We're scoring 10. Why not? Nah, yeah. Realistically, I think it's going to be probably a 2-2 draw. I think we'll come home with a point, but I don't think we'll get the win.
Yeah, and then it's almost done, isn't it? I think there's mathematically a chance we can go through, but I think if we draw, it's done.
Yeah.
Just to Michael in the comments, Sean's not on tonight. I'm Shane, by the way.
Yeah, Sean's off his skits.
Yeah.
Great comment. There you go, Johnny. AIK. Thanks, B.
That's what was the? I have to look it up. When the last time we scored one. All right, fair enough. Yeah.
Anyway, so thanks everyone for tuning in. We'll leave the pod there. Let us know your score predictions in the comments, and thanks for it. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't already done so. Hit the like on the YouTube video and in your podcast app. Share it around all the socials. We're on Twitter. It's at Celtic Down on YouTube, Facebook, all the usual stuff at the top there. Middle of the screen, if you're looking at now, www.celticdownunder.com. You can go there and you can pick yourself up one of these magnificent T-shirts that me and Shane are wearing. And you can also get yourself a hoodie. I've got them in black, white, grey, green. And there's metal drink bottles on there with the logo that works. If you want to feel like supporting the club or, getting someone a T-shirt for our Christmas gift, go for it. They're available on there. What we'll do is we'll go for our final thoughts. So, Johnny, what's your final thought?
Well, I've been, as I always do, I've been listening to lots of music recently. I think probably most of us know that the Beatles released a new single, which I loved. Thought it was brilliant. And I don't know if you know much about it, but they actually used like the new AI technology to do some of the singing and stuff, and some of the old demos with all the different artists. I thought it was a great song. So I went on a complete tangent and I listened to heaps of new artists, and I found a new band. They're really, really small from the UK called Wonderhorst. They're great. Give them a good listen. They're Beatles-esque. So,
Shane?
Two things. One real quick one from me, Michael. Only having a laugh, mate. All good. Appreciate your contributions. And yes, Shane, Sean, it's pretty much the same thing, really. So all good, mate. Enjoy your comments as always. A-League's back. So our local A-League's kicked off now. We're a couple of weeks in. The quality's good. The crowds are building. It's a great product at the moment. So if you're in Australia tuning in, make sure you get to a game. If you're overseas, you can watch the games on YouTube, I think, from memory. Don't quote me on that, but just get involved. The quality of the league's really good at the moment, and it's really exciting, and I think we're in for a great season. So it's good to have the A-League back, and if you can get involved in any way, please do.
Before I go my final thought, because it actually brings up one of these comments into it, Andrew Craig commented, "What music is your opening? Is there a full song?" The song's called Sports Rage, and it's by Black Rom. I don't know if there's a full song available, but that's the name of it. One last comment for you, Johnny. I know Oz has some exotic wildlife, but there's a big hairy caterpillar. That's a big hairy caterpillar I've seen. Had to bring up that last one. And my final thought ties into this comment from Andrew Galea. Tilio has been selected to the Aussie Olympic team for a couple of upcoming friendlies, so he's going to be playing there. So we'll get some match fitness in him, and players you get to see him play there. So keep an eye out for. I think they're playing in Saudi Arabia or something like that in the next international break. So hopefully by then Tilio goes there, plays 90 minutes or whatever, comes back and he's up and about. So see you all on Thursday. Hopefully we picked up 3 points. Worst case scenario, a draw, and we're, still in the mix for Europe after Christmas. Ho, ho. Thanks for tuning in.
Ho, ho.